Hi, I'm Claire, and I realize it's been a while since I've done a book haul. So there we go. This is like half of the books that I've acquired since I last did a book haul. I'm gonna talk about these now, and then I'm gonna have to film a second part because I already hardly can lift all of these books, so I can't do twice as many of them in one go. First up, I've got some books that are finalists for the BookTube SFF Awards, and I am a judge, so I bought them to read them. The first one of these is Cersei by Madeline Miller. This has been so buzzy this year. I kept hearing about this, so I'm really glad that it was on the shortlist, and now I am going to be reading it very, very shortly. This book is so shiny! It's going to end up dethroning Zen Cho's Sorcerer to the Crown as the shiniest book that I own. It has to be the prettiest naked hardback that I own. If you thought the dust jacket was shiny, well, look at this. I mean, come on, that's just gorgeous. There are also maps inside, which I always appreciate. This is, of course, a retelling, I guess, of the Odyssey. I'm saying of course because I keep hearing about this book, but I actually don't know loads about it, and I don't want to learn loads about it before reading it. And hopefully I'm going to be reading this in April for the Owls Readathon. One of the subjects, Ancient Runes, I believe, wants you to read a retelling, so this is going to be my pick for that. Cannot wait. Next, I got Aqua, Cove by Katie O'Neill, which is a finalist in the graphic novel category. I haven't read this yet, but it looks so cute. And this is the story of Lana. She and her father move back to their hometown by the sea, and she finds these magical creatures, aquacorns, like aquatic unicorns, and they help her. I believe there is a lot in this book about processing grief. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to also read it for the Owls Readathon. It's got plant life on the cover, so this is going to be herbology for me. And yeah, I can't wait because it looks really adorable, and I've heard so many great things about this book, as well as Tea Dragon Society. And I do love graphic novels, so I'm pretty excited about this one. Also for the graphic novel category in the BookTube SFF Awards, we have The Adventure Zone Volume 1, Here There Be Goblins. This is by Clint Griffin, Justin and Travis McElroy, and the art is by Carrie Pitch. And this is, of course, the graphic novel adaptation of the Adventure Zone podcast by the McElroy family. Now, I haven't heard that particular podcast of theirs. I feel like I would enjoy the Adventure Zone, except that I don't really have time to take on like a D&D based piece of media. This I have already read, and it was a fun read. I have many thoughts about it. I will keep them for when we wrap up for the BookTube SFF Awards. Next up, I've got a couple of books that were sent to me for review from Orbit Books. First is Rosewater, Insurrection by Tade Thompson. This is the second book in the Rosewater series. The first book is Rosewater. I also have the first book. I have not read the series yet, so I can't really tell you too much about this because I don't really want to spoil myself for the first book, but this concerns the city of Rosewater in Nigeria. The city formed around this weird, massive alien biodome that just appeared one day, and now people that go up to it like sometimes gain magic powers, and so because of that, of course, a city has formed around the dome because people are hoping that, you know, their illnesses will be cured and they'll have magic powers. Our main character from the first book is an investigator with these special magic powers who basically goes into people's heads to see if they are lying about things. Now, again, I don't know much more about it or about the second book because I'm really hoping that I'm gonna get to reading these soon. They sound so cool. I am here for like weird alien domed city, and we don't really know what's going on with the aliens and trying to communicate with them, hopefully, so yes. Next up is a book I'm ridiculously excited about, and that is The Raven Tower by Anne Leckie. This was also sent to me from Orbit for review, and I'm so excited to get to it. I'm going to hopefully read it in April for the Owls Readathon because it's got a raven on the cover. I know it's a door knocker, but I had to fit it in the readathon somehow because I don't want to wait anymore to read this. This is Ann Leckie's first fantasy novel. It is a standalone. It is set in the kingdom of Iridan, where they have a god called the Raven who lives in the Raven Tower, and their god is real and manifest and they know him, except at some point their god is usurped by a fake and then shenanigans ensue. I don't really want to know too much about this before going in because I trust Ann Leckie to like blow my mind, basically. Just to give you an idea of how excited I am to read this book, half of it is apparently written in the second person, and I am still so excited to read this book. If you had asked me before this was announced who I would trust to write in the second person, I would have probably just said N.K. Jemisin and nobody else. But then Ann Leckie wrote in the second person, and I'm like, yeah, Ann Leckie can do whatever she wants, basically, and I will read it and be excited about it. Also, Orbit sent me this cool Raven Tower tote bag with the book that says "The Strength and Patience of the Hill" on the one side, and then on the other side, "There will be a reckoning." And let me tell you, when I use this bag for my groceries, I feel so metal. It is ridiculous. Next up is a book I know next to nothing about, but it was recommended by someone, I believe, on the Patreon for Many a True Nerd, which is the gaming YouTube channel that I work for. We do a monthly podcast for the patrons, and someone on there asked me if I'd read the latest Simon Sterlenhag, and I had not. I was not aware of this author. I googled it and found The Electric State. As you can see, it's a really large book. It's also an illustrated book. It is gorgeous on the inside. It's not a graphic novel because, as you can see, it's got text, but it's not got like speech bubbles or anything like that. But yeah, this is very pretty. It's about a young woman traveling through a kind of post-apocalyptic America full of giant robot, and she is traveling with a small robot friend. Everything about it sounds pretty cool to me, so I'm looking forward to, at some point, just sitting down with this and a cup of tea for a few hours and hopefully having time to read it through and just take in all the gorgeous illustrations. And I wish I had remembered to look up who it is that recommended it to me. I'm so sorry, I feel like it's very rude to bring up that it was recommended to me and not say by whom. So if it was you, thank you so much for your recommendation. I'm looking forward to it. And finally, I've got 3 books that are very much not my usual genre, so let me tell you about the non-SFF stuff that I have acquired over the past few months. First is Watership Down by Richard Adams. Is this SFF or not SFF? It's got talking rabbits anyway, so probably it's SFF. And funnily enough, I got this book from France. I was over at my parents' place for Christmas, and I went with my mom to this little free library that she volunteers at, and they have so many donations of books there that they even had a little crate of some books in English, and I looked through that and I found a copy of Watership Down, and my friend Jenny over at Reading the End had been talking about rereading Watership Down and how much she loved it, and I just thought, why not? I will pick this up and just see how I enjoy this classic, which I somehow have not read nor seen the TV show that was made recently. I'm not sure my feelings are going to be able to handle this based on what Jenny has said about it, but I'm gonna have to give it a try. Next, I've got Educated by Tara Westover. This is non-fiction, which I don't read tons of, but it's about this young woman being brought up by survivalist parents in the US, and she doesn't go to school, she doesn't have vaccines, they live off the grid, and then she has to learn how to educate herself later in life. A lot of people have been talking about this book already on booktube. I'm probably the last person to get to it, but I do love stories about cults and cult-like situations like this. If this was a documentary on Netflix, I would watch it in a heartbeat, so I figured, why not try this in book form? And finally, I have bought myself a physical copy of The Brick, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This is in English because I would like to to film a video about Les Mis at some point, because I have so many opinions about Les Miserables that, you know, I feel like I want to make this really long, complex video essay about how adaptations of Les Mis failed to grasp all of the things about it, but also I've only ever read excerpts from it and then a lot of fan fiction. So I'm super interested in actually reading this, but it is literally one of the longest books ever written. So, you know, that's a bit of work. The reason I got myself a physical copy, even though I already have ebooks in French and in English in my Kindle, is because, if I'm honest, if it's in my Kindle, I tend to forget that it exists, especially when I'm getting new arcs and review copies from publishers that are like shiny and exciting and I want to get to straight away, and those are in my Kindle. Like, I tend to forget to go to my Kindle for something like this. And also it occurred to me that I might want to take notes in the book, so this might be better for like little flags and post-its and stuff. But when am I ever going to have the time to do this project? I have no idea. There's so much book, folks, there's so much book. So that's it, this was about half of the books that I've acquired since I last did a book haul. This is already going to be quite a long video, so I'm gonna stop there and do a part 2 at some point soon. Keep an eye for it in your subscription boxes. And in the meantime, please let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books, if you have any recommendations for me based on the things that I talked about in this video. And of course, do let me know what books you've acquired recently that you are super excited about. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.